Neil just talked a lot about this, but first game, they've got a new coach, so many unknowns. How do you go into this?
Well, that's a good point. A lot of unknowns, a lot of speculation. You know, you try to do the best you can, researching. So, you know, we've obviously watched a lot of Charlotte. We've watched a lot of Elon. You know, you look at a lot of little things to see what they might do and how it matches their players. You know, they got a couple of new guys on the transfer, a little kid from, not little kid, but the transfer from Penn State. You know, how they going to use him. The transfer from UCF to play, he's a backup, so that means the other guy's doing obviously better. I think they're them not having the one receiver, so it makes 17 probably more the go-to guy in the game. So there's a lot of stuff like that. Then you look at a lot of stuff like at Elon, how well coached their offensive line was. I mean, they did a really good job. If a D lineman was in what we call a G'd rather than a shade, it changed blocking schemes and this and that. So and how well they were at adjusting. So you know, that's a lot of little things that coaches would look at. So we're you know, we have been and we are working about as hard as you can, and you can also create paralysis by analysis somewhat if you try to do too much. So those are things that coaches do in a meeting room, whereas you may not present that to your players. So
I think at free safety, you've got Norwood and Martin listed on the depth chart. A year ago this time, one guy was a quarterback, another guy was a high school quarterback. Where are you at with those guys right now as we get ready to go?
Well, I think they've both progressed very well in camp. They both want to be good very, very badly. They're doing they're probably doing as well as they can, and neither one of them is where I think they're going to be by the end of the season. At least hope not. And so, you know, we're continuing every day is trying to get better. And what we got to make sure as coaches we do is we take it one day at a time and get everything we can out of today. I've heard it said, take all the air out of the ball. You know, probably a basketball saying. But we're trying to squeeze all the improvement we can out of them every day. And, you know, we'll worry about tomorrow. I know that says that several times in the Bible. So, anyways, that's where we're at with that. They're getting better. They both had good camps, and they're trying really hard. So.
I'm sure you are going to assume people will try to attack your young safeties. Tactically, what are some things you can do?
Well, I mean, yeah. I'm sure they'll try to attack a lot of places. They start looking at all the FRs on the roster, but that is what it is, and so we'll see. There's a lot, like you talked about, a lot of unknowns, and I think the most important known is that they'll be here Saturday, and if our guys play as hard as they can, as smart as they can, as fast as they can, and we serve them, and we act, you know, as servants. I was listening to a devotion yesterday coming in. Joel Osteen thing when I was driving into work, and you know, it kind of always bring things back to perspective as we're here to serve, and so I need to do the best job I can to get these guys as good as they can be, and to play as hard as they can, and to not disrupt them by being negative or being fearful or whatever, and we're going to do that, and that's the approach that we're taking.
Can a pass rush pressure protect some of those issues you've got behind you?
No question. And the thing that we've been able to do probably for the last 3 or 4 years is establish a pretty good pass rush. But there's a difference if they got 7 guys in to protect, which Elon did on occasion. They would keep 7 guys in to block and throw the ball down the field. Just numbers-wise, 7's probably going to block 4. So we have to be prudent in our pressures. We have to be able to go blitz them, but we also have to be prudent. If you're blitzing and they're throwing the ball, and they run a lot of screens, and if you're blitzing and they're throwing screens, then that probably isn't what you want either. So you got to kind of do the best you can to disguise, and then you got to play your fundamentals and play your gaps. Our guys have done a good job through the spring and have really probably taken it to another level this fall as far as understanding all the things that Coach Leslie's been trying to get them to do as far as angles and hands and all that stuff. And let me tell you, their offensive line is really solid, cohesive group. They've played a lot of football together. They're going to be a great challenge for us.
You mentioned Elon. Something that jumped out. They were the only team that really ran on James Madison last year. I think they had 212 yards.
Yep.
They're
really good at running the football. And like I talked about, Elon's offensive line was extremely well coached. Offensive line coach is James Madison now. And Signetti's an offensive guy. They know how to hurt teams, and they did a really good job of getting numbers to one side or the other. They run a lot of counter plays, zone plays. We've worked a lot of the formations. They're going to be in 12 personnel probably a lot. Statistically, I think it was 35% of the time. Both them and Charlotte were approximately about the same. So we're expecting some what we call 12 personnel somewhat, and they've got two big quality tight ends on their team. So there's a lot of factors, and we don't really see too much 12, and so we haven't practiced it much. So that's something that we've addressed.
Vic, when you go and talk about balancing being aggressive and
Yes,
being prudent, especially with so many guys who you said are young,
Yes, sir.
Neil said he wants to just let his guys go, and he said coaches probably feel a little bit different and try to be protective with young guys. Where do you stand? How do you go his way when you know what you want to do too?
Well, I tell you what, we're tired of going against our offense. Our offense challenged us every day, throwing the ball, particularly down the field, and so those are things we worked on extremely hard. There's a lot. We're gonna be a lot different than what y'all saw in the spring game from us defensively. We obviously didn't show very much of what we're really doing, and so it's going to be interesting to see, and watch these guys play, and looking forward to it, obviously. And like I said before, I want to make sure that I do the best job serving our players to what their needs are. And their needs are to stay confident in them and to be confident in them and to support them and to get them as good as they can be for Saturday. But again, working on today first.
Danucci, the quarterback for James Madison, anything jump off?
A real solid player, is a better runner than what he's given credit for, and his reads are really sound when he goes through his progressions. Like a lot of quarterbacks, if he gets some pressure, obviously it's not as good, but you could say that about Tom Brady, I would think. He's a really good, obviously Division I quarterback, and he's had great success. And probably, I don't know if Coach Brown hit it on it, I'm sure he probably did. This group's used to winning. And back when Mickey Matthews was the head coach, they were winning, and they've been winning ever since. And so this is a program somewhat like us that's got a tradition of winning. And so when you're used to doing that, you know how to prepare, you know what to think, you know how to study film, you do all the things that it takes to help you win. So I think he's very much a winner.
Colgate game, that was really the only game he struggled through some picks. What did you see there?
Yeah, I think it was a combination of things probably. Colgate was pretty highly ranked on defense, as I recall. We looked that up. But I just think it was less him and more just a team deal. Yeah.
These first 4 games, what do you think you might get out of Jarrett Bartlett at that bandit spot?
Great question. He's he's been hurt a whole bunch in camp. He's had an ankle sprain, and anybody that's had one of those understands that they're a nagging deal. You try to play, and he's out there hobbling around a little bit like a pirate, and so we're hopefully we can get him a little bit fresh. We really don't know what he's capable of, because we only had him in practice for about a week, so that's still a little bit of an unknown there.
Dante Stills.
Yes.
I understand the last couple of weeks he's really come on a little bit.
Yeah,
You've seen
it
something from
seems like, coaches have different ways of saying this, but it seems like he's matured a little bit. Okay.
You said it in a different way.
Well, yeah, but I obviously, yeah. Anyway.
But he's playing much better.
Well, he seems to be. I think Coach Leslie's getting to him a little bit, and but that's good. That's what it should. And we're coaching these guys like I've addressed. We're coaching them hard, but we're teaching them like our kids. And anyway, we're loving them up too, and so we're just trying to get the most out of them. And I think we finally figured out. Coach Leslie's kind of figured out how to get to him a little bit. Hopefully, he'll explode on Saturday.
If he plays the way you want him to play, is he an impactful guy?
Well, I think we've got at least 7 to 8 deep defensive linemen that I will not be surprised if during the game that they make plays. So I'm not saying that they're the 86 Bears or not anything right now, but I say that, and I think that they'll make some plays, expecting them to make some plays.
Where's Charlie Benton at? Does he got anything he can help you down the road?
That's a great question. We've given him a bunch of opportunities so far in camp, and so far we're just kind of wait and see a little bit on him.
One more. You mentioned Chandler early in this camp.
Yes.
About a guy to keep an eye on. Is he playing?
I think, and I don't know if Coach Brown has announced it or released, but he did a really good job through camp. He's one of our better players through camp, and I think the coaching staff felt like he was one of the better players and kind of gave him the best guy in camp award or something.
Vic, without Miller at corner, do you stretch out Bailey and Washington longer, or do you play the young guys because you don't want to get too unbalanced with snaps?
Well, I don't know. We'll wait and see how it goes in the game. I mean, we're playing the guys we got, and they're getting better every day.
Okay, thanks,
Good.
Coach.
All right, thanks.